Welcome to the latest episode of Vox Vomitus. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of the award-winning novel Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, as well as the Hotel series and the newly released Pretty Ugly. With me today, as always, is my Vox Vomitus vixen, Allison Martine, author of the Bourbon books, which includes Dibs, Since September, and her recent novel, Move On, Melinda. Today, we have with us Gervais Hagerty, author of In Polite Company, her debut novel, which was released this week, wasn't it, Gervais?
A week ago.
A week ago.
Congratulations.
So happy 1 week and 1 day book birthday.
1 week and 1 day, yes.
Woo-hoo! Yes. Woo-hoo! Welcome, Gervais.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and a little bit about In Polite Company?
Sure. Well, it is a novel based in Charleston, and I am from Charleston, South Carolina. So it's definitely a settings-based story. And the novel is a peek behind the veil of Charleston society. It brings you to debutante balls, you got white gloves, you got pearls, but it's not all sweet tea and Southern charm. There's sex, drugs, and rock and roll in here too.
Oh my gosh, I'm now kicking myself for not wearing pearls and my little kid gloves.
Wait, you have kid gloves? Because I looked through my wardrobe. I don't have anything cotillion approved.
I do have the leather gloves.
Yeah, really? From what?
A friend of mine gave them to me. So I'm a professional ballroom dancer. So isn't that weird? So I was very excited to read your book because you talked about the foxtrot so much and waltz. And any book that says we'll always start with a foxtrot. I'm like, yes, you do always start with a foxtrot.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah.
So a friend gave me kid gloves because she said, I feel like you need this in your life.
Yes, you should. Yes.
But I recently moved, so my costume closet I put all my costumes in there, and then the bar broke. So now they're just all on the floor, and I have not fixed it, and it's been 3 weeks.
That is something that can just stay shut behind the door.
Exactly. I was and that is fine.
Yes.
It's just as good like that.
Yeah.
So, Gervais, how much of this, I know you're from Charleston, how much of the debutante coming out to society part was based on you?
I was a debutante. That does happen here. Yeah. And it's still very alive and well. It is a series of parties that families around here and other parts of the South throw for their daughters. Originally, it was to introduce them to society for, to get married. And right now it's just a big party because most of those young women are, going to be they've got jobs or maybe even trying to go to med school and they find their date on Tinder. It's not, it's very, right now it's just a party, but yeah, it's great. And again, it's about a dozen other women and you go to, there'll be brunches and cocktail parties, and then probably you go to about 2 or 3 balls and you wear a wedding gown.
I'm just laughing at the idea of, hey, do you want to be my date on Tinder for what? A cotillion?
Yeah.
What do you expect? Hookups and cotillions.
I know. Yeah, actually, some of those parties, you have to have 2 dates, which is really interesting. Yeah. So
I know. I mentioned that one of them is usually a brother or a cousin, or somebody you're not probably going to be making out with.
Right.
Probably.
Hopefully. I mean, that would make, that would make sense. I need to verify all that, but I remember having 2 and one was my brother, but it was just he wants to come and party. So,
Oh, interesting.
Come on over.
Do you think that second date is just there to so that would
keep an eye?
Just keep an eye, originally a chaperone, I'm her cousin. You can't touch her, above the wrist.
I'm curious. I don't know the answer to that. And it wasn't true for all of the events, but I do recall, now that I'm looking back 18 years ago. Yeah. It was a bit of a muddled memory. There was free-flowing wine and a lot of sitting around.
All of the drinking and dancing probably made it a little blurry.
It was, yes, in the best way.
So, I think I always get confused between cotillion, which I think isn't when you're 12 or 13 is cotillion.
Yeah, it's younger. Mm-hmm.
And that's when you wear the little gloves and you learn how to ballroom dance for the first time. Correct. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then they even have those out here. And I know the first time I heard that with some of the people in my circles, none of my kids do any of that stuff, but I hear that and I'm going, we're in Orange County, California. Where is the cotillion coming from? But somehow it showed up here. But they talk about it as the way to teach the kids manners, teach the kids like, this is how you sit at a table and don't act like a little beast and things like that. So it has those multi-level purposes. So it is like little kids more, but they're so cute with their little gloves and their little
and I remember as a kid, when you went in, you would have to introduce yourself to the ladies who ran it, and you had to give each one 2 compliments.
Oh my God.
What if you couldn't think of 2?
What if you
just something, how lovely you look. It's so good to see you today, Mrs. Whipple or Ravenel or some of those.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So 2 compliments. Did you ever panic? Like, because there were so many rules and just like, think you wouldn't be able to do it? Like,
no, because it's dominated by 100 kids who just want to, punch each other in the arm and, or try to dance with a cute boy. Because you would sit 50 to 50 in this ballroom, 50 girls, 50 boys. And depending on where you could sit, you could count and see who you would end up dancing with because they'd line you up.
I remember that was square dancing.
Yeah, it's like that, right? Yeah.
You're like, wait, can you switch with me?
There was all that sort of. I mean, we were, your 4th grade, or then there's a stinky boy with like Cheeto breath, So move.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So I have to ask, as a ballroom dancer, do you still dance?
I love to dance. I wish it was more in our culture. I mean, it only really happens at a wedding. I have this buddy, Parker Barnwell, a very Charleston name. He's my brother's best friend, and we got real close when I moved back to Charleston, and he's a hell of a dancer. And when he and I are out late at night and it's the 2 of us, we can cut a rug. Like, we really can. And it's just so fun to know somebody like throughout my life, no matter who my partner is or his. Like, I always have this one person that I can like really dance with. My husband knows how to dance, but I mean, between you and me, he's not as good as Parker. Yeah, so
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. My husband is my dance partner.
Like, she married her.
I married.
That's so romantic.
So it's easy. It's easy. We're always just like, we have somebody to dance with.
Wow, that's fabulous. Y'all must feel like the stars at every party.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think so.
No, but we try not to. But like every once in a while, we're like, oh
how
my
can
gosh,
you help
let's
it?
just do a paso doble to this bad rap song that's being played at a wedding.
Yeah.
Wait, you paso doble to a rap song?
Oh yeah, you can paso doble to anything with an 8 count.
I'm just trying to picture what rap song was it. Do you remember?
Don't remember. I've done it multiple times. I've also done it to merengues on cruise ships, but also alcohol.
That will help.
It's usually one of the common denominators. So, Gervais, I loved the setting of this book so much. You had me like every other page Googling something from Charleston, just thinking that I wanted to move there, even though I just moved into a house that I love so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, but Charleston, look at that. Except for when you talked about cockroaches and things like that.
Oh, they're here. The Charleston butterflies, for sure. They're big.
That is way too complimentary a term for them, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, we're sweet and polite company around here.
Yeah. Well, and I was cracking up because Jen says she wants to move, and I'm reading and going, if I move there, I'm going to get flooded away, because you did such a great job of talking about not just what this society is like, but what the development is like and some of the underbelly there. And you've got this character who actually cares about the fact that, hey, maybe we haven't been treating the area we live in as well as maybe we should. And comparing the fact that, for example, the developers 100, 200 years ago knew to build on the high ground because of all this. And now they're like, meh, let's just throw some more land in there and get some more money out of it. No one seems to really care, and just some more back alley deals. That's fine. It's all good. So I don't really want to move there because I'd probably end up getting flooded away.
But I mean, you gotta, I mean, it's a changing city, and we have a lot of transplants. Charleston was not on the map a decade ago, and we have so many people coming to town, and it's great. But one of the problems is I don't think they don't have that history of knowing that we didn't stop everything when the flooding happened, because it just wasn't an issue. Mm-hmm. And now, I mean, when it rains, you can't get to the hospitals. I mean, it's crazy. So
infrastructure issues where they didn't really take that into account when they continued to expand.
There's a lot of that. The sea level's rising, a lot of runoff. I mean, climate change, things are different now. But I do want to put pressures on the city in ways that hopefully I can through my writing of getting people to be thinking about this, pressuring lawmakers to say what we can agree with and not agree with. But even just, I just saw a new house being built down the road and I thought, damn, they've got non-permeable driveway. And just stuff like that. Like if you just have a driveway, if you've got one, all right, it's hard to like rip it up. But if you have one where there's nowhere for the water to go except into the drain, this is just all these places that we don't have the soil working its natural way of taking the runoff and removing pressures from the system. So just little things like AstroTurf. I mean, just like little things we can do in our lives in small incremental ways in our own homes, rain barrels, that kind of stuff. To really help these problems that face our community on a very large scale.
Well, and I totally get that because out here we get a lot of the issue of the cyclical nature of the weather is we have the dry weather and we get the fires that just burn off everything on the sides. And then the next time the rain hits, it's like, yay, we need the rain. But without anything holding that in place, all the runoff comes and then we get flash floods. Yeah. So it's this cycle that if you don't have everything built in place, including having the different things on the side and having all the sandbags out to stop it, if you don't have that, you're getting a disaster. And the worse the fires are, then the worse the floods get. So we get it.
Yeah, I think we're just seeing the beginning, unfortunately.
Yeah. Was it difficult in your writing process to kind of marry these two sides of this story together? Because you have on one hand this like incredibly genteel, amazing stories about parties and outfits and hairstyles and but food. Then there and food and drinking but then you have this character who definitely has this moral compass. Was it hard for you as a writer to tell both sides of the story? And when you gave this to your agent, did you get any pushback like, oh no, we don't want this part sullying like the fun raucous story? Or like,
I had a little bit of that in, but this takes me to my mentor. Her name is Mary Alice Monroe. She is a best-selling writer. She writes a lot of beach reads based on Isle of Palms, which is just a couple islands over, a couple bridges over. And when I really wanted to be a writer, I bugged her once I had finished this manuscript. And she writes a lot about, she has her stories and they're, gonna have kind of just, she's got her characters and a beautiful setting, but she always has an environmental issue at the heart of the story, or at least that's moving the story forward. And my mom was like, "Ray, you should do that. You love the environment." I've always been obsessed with environmental issues. And so that was a real way of helping me think like, I want to do that. And then because she is just an incredibly generous, wonderful storyteller, she knows a lot of incredibly generous, wonderful storytellers. And she, by way of some other friends, introduced me to my editor. So I had my editor before I had my agent, which was really, really nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unusual. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is unusual. And what's funny is a few weeks ago, we had a guest on our show, which she also wrote about Low Country.
The Low Country.
Low Country Bride.
And she also, yeah.
Chris
I think I've got that book coming because I've been like, who is it? We need to know each other. We're right around here.
You guys should probably go neighbors. On a tour.
Yeah, we probably are. Yeah.
And she also got her editor before her agent.
Cool.
But her story was a bit different because she's writing from the perspective of I think she refers to herself as Black and Filipina. Is that correct? That's all right. And so she answered a call for own voices. So she was going through that channel where they were looking for unagented writers, but representing a segment of society that hadn't been heard from as much.
Good.
And went through
we need
call.
that.
Great.
But that's just really unusual that we get. They're both Low Country and they both found their editors first. Apparently that's just how you do it.
Something in the water over here.
Something in the water in Charleston.
And all that water.
And all your water. I feel like at any moment now, all of these unagented writers are going to flock to Charleston and be like,
they're going to show up in the crab cages.
Crab cages. They're just going to be like,
that's not for you.
This is, where to get discovered. So that's incredible that you got an editor. So you got your editor and so she loved it, or did she work with you? Was she another mentor?
she was the editor for Dorothy Benton Frank, Dottie Frank. She wrote a bunch of other bestsellers on Sullivan's Island. And so she and Mary Alice were kind of these two women who, they're these titans. And Dottie Frank had passed, and it had been about a year, and she was looking to kind of like, I want to go back. I love Charleston. I want to find a low country writer. And so she was talking with another writer, and Mary Alice happened to be there, and she said, "It's Gervais. You need to talk to her." That was a Saturday, and on a Monday I sent my manuscript, and on a Wednesday I got an offer. So
holy cow.
Yeah. So, I mean, she knew what she was looking for, I think. And so
she was looking for you.
Yeah, I feel that way. I feel like I won the literary lottery with her. She's great. She compliments me really well. She's very much like, if she hears this, she'll like, I don't mean it in a bad way, but like, she's Yankee. She is like, she doesn't soften things, she just tells it how it is. And I've had to learn like, okay, you still like me?
I love that you said that. So I am on the committee for a literary conference called New England Crime Bake, and I'm in charge of agents and editors.
Oh,
and
great.
I was like brainstorming with my agent, and she was just like, "Oh, you should get so-and-so to come in. She's so East Coast, but people still love her, and we're East Coast, so like we get it." Because she was like, "Oh, she'll just tell them how it is."
Yeah,
and people will thank her.
Right?
Like, yes, she's very New York.
Yeah, she's very New York. I have a sister who's she's just born New York. I mean, she's born here, but like, she's like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like dealing with curry. I get it now. Like, I kind of know, like, she'll tell you like it is. She'll tell you if your dress doesn't look good or something, I mean, it's good to have somebody like that in your life.
I was going to say, it's good to know that they're like that so that you don't always have to go through did I say something? Did I do something? And
no, there's none of that.
And it's not you.
Right. No, there's none of that. Exactly. If she likes it, she likes it. If she doesn't, she doesn't. It's just that, and we move on. And I appreciate that. I'm busy. So just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So then after that, did you have to go and find an agent, or?
I did. I mean, I don't know if
How do you find an agent when you're like, I already have an editor. I just need
that's
somebody.
That's the subject line in the email. I have an offer. So
anybody want to get in on this?
Yeah, anybody want to get in on this? And so it was kind of a scramble because she was like, hurry up. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I've never even So, I mean, it's a really good problem to have. And there's a college around here called Davidson College in North Carolina. My cousin went there. I went to more of a party school. The people who go to Davidson, their motto is work hard. There's no like play hard.
Work hard.
Yeah. And I met a writer who was from Davidson, and I was like, who's her agent? Because she's a work hard person. And she would not take this decision lightly. I'm just going to pick the one she did. So that's how that happened.
Like BTW, I want you to work hard for me like you do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So you did you go through any other agents and get like, no, we're not interested?
Oh yeah. I mean, I did. This was when I had finished it before Mary Alice had seen it. I wrote it in 2016 and I started writing it in 2016, but I was working full time as a professor at the Citadel, which is a military college just down the road. And I really began, I mean, it's a fun book, but I began it when my grandmother was in hospice. I was just heartbroken. And as y'all know, it's a story. And at the heart of it is a woman and her grandmother. So I just was working. And then, kids and life. And I tried a couple agents and didn't really go anywhere. And I just kind of forgot about it. And I thought, I just need, I know Mary Alice, like not very well, but I bet. So I just kind of bugged her. And after a while she read it and she really helped me. And she made it a better book. She really helped me. She sat with me. She read it and she sat with me for an hour and a half at her house and helped me think of it in like a larger context.
So it sounds like she was doing like developmental editing with you almost at that point too.
So here's what she told me when she read an earlier version. She said, you have a voice. And I think she really got the voice that Simmons was. But she said about the grandmother, she says, all she does is die. Who is this woman? I know. It's true. It's all that really happened. Because it was just this catharsis and just this, this sorrow. But Marilyn said, who was this woman? Like, you need to write the story of who this woman was. And I thought, I think I want to make her a dancer. And Mary Alice said, you should give her Capezio shoes. And I thought,
I love it.
like, what are Capezio shoes? You know what Capezio shoes are.
Yeah.
So I go
Even I
home and I
do.
Google them, and I had this whole idea of this like kitten heel, kind of like in, I don't know, maybe you would dance the paso doble in that, right? Like a kitten heel with the strap
Yeah.
over the ankle. But
Like I was just about to go like into like technically what dance
Yes.
shoes it should be, and I'm like, oh no, that's super boring. Just shut up. Nobody wants
but
to
she,
hear
the
it.
whole
Bonus
time she was
content
imagining, the slipper, like the ballet slipper.
Yeah.
So it's fun how she had a different image and I had a different image, but like what it was give it a backstory, and that really was a driving force. So by the time my editors saw it, it was a much better book.
And I loved the Capezio shoes just because I loved the reference, but I also felt like it was that and the zinnias were such beautiful objects to define who this woman was.
Yeah.
Like on the surface, they're just shoes, but you know what they mean to her. So it's just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, and this is, so we used to plant zinnias together, and this is the ring, let's see,
There you
that
are.
my grandmother used to wear, and I wear it every day, and I wear it when I write. So, so they're objects. This object is not in the book, but yes, it's the zinnias. That was actually the original title of the book. But then my New York editor was like, "They're just going to think it's a gardening book. Who's going to buy that?" I'm like, "You're right. Fair. Yeah."
That's okay. The title of my first book is called Dibs, and it doesn't involve any of the little ice cream treats. So I'm sure there are people confused by that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. There's bourbon
right.
on the cover, and there's not a lot of cocktail recipes either. You know, the title is what it is, but
It is.
I think In Polite Company just handles it so well and encapsulates just the feeling of the book and this kind of tension we have. And I loved how you managed to combine this person who has such an appreciation and an understanding of this culture, but it's mixed with this very top level, just a disdain of it as well. Like when she's seeing going, why do we still do this? Why do we allow this? Why is it that?
Why is there a men's club?
Yeah, to the mother, why do you allow this? Why do you want to eat at a place that doesn't let you be a member? Oh well, I know people here, and I like the soup, and it's nice, and it's just going, really, you're gonna go with that? All right, and Simmons just having to be like, all right, so I'm gonna be making my own choices now. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that was a hard line to toe, and that's what I worked really hard to do. Yeah, because I am grateful for my experiences and my background. And all cultures have good and bad. And so this was my observation, and I don't know, just like, here world.
Yeah.
You do something with this. I'm not sure what to do.
I think you did a really good job of respecting the tradition and honoring it and making it, not seem like it seemed lovely to go through. Like I never thought that she was like miserable at these balls or was miserable at her coming out. She wasn't. But I loved the borderline. Oh, but like that guy's kind of a jerk. Like,
and
why doesn't anybody care?
and the pictures in the bathroom showing people who were enslaved, but seemed so very happy about it, and her just being like, who put these in here, and why isn't anybody doing anything about it? And maybe it's because the women's room and all the members are men, so they haven't looked. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because those are I saw those exist at a club. Wow. You're the first person so far to bring it up, but yeah, those exist.
I'm assuming Battery Hall's not a real club. But it's
representative of
I figured as much.
Probably several clubs.
Because here where we are, I used to work for a nonprofit, and when I did, I would go to clubs and things like that and be there on behalf of the organization. Mm-hmm. But they were always clubs that were open to anyone if you had enough money. So there was still that social bar, but it wasn't based on race or gender or religion. And there was some line in there, and I wish I'd written it down, where it was talking about like everybody here is with their heterosexual partner, is cisgender, white, Protestant, and it's just this line like, yep, everybody here is just completely homogenous, and they come on down together, and it's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's always going to be, unless somebody says we're not going to do this anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Are you a surfer?
I haven't actually done it yet this summer. I don't know where the summer's gone. I'll do it because I've done it. I mean, I'm terrible. I'm worse than Simmons in the book, but yes,
but
I got my first surfboard.
Surfer.
She seems fine.
Oh yeah, she's decent.
But I'm like somebody who like can barely swim, so I'm like, she's great at it.
Yeah, no, I'm a water baby. I got a surfboard. Actually, the time I came out, I debuted. It was around
That
then
was
when I
like
got
your
my
Did you
gift.
first
really? I love
surfboard.
it.
Yeah. I got it for Christmas that year, so that was
That's
like
so
right
cute.
around all the balls. Yeah.
Well, and I love that at the heart we've got Simmons, and she's the middle child between these two other girls, and you've
Mhm.
got Carrie Ann and Wheezy, and these names.
Mhm.
I guess Carrie Ann's the mom, so it's
Wheezy.
Caroline.
Yeah,
Is
Caroline. Yeah. Mhm.
Do you repeat names? And I guess that's also a very Southern thing to do, is to
Oh,
pass
for
on
sure.
names all through.
Oh,
So
yeah. I've got a family. My cousins. I mean, I'm not gonna say their names, but they just repeat. They're all repeated.
well, and that's how you know with guys named things like Trip, because nobody wants to go by their
There you
actual
go.
name because
That's right.
7 other guys had that name. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, Trip.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
name, but okay.
Yeah,
Well-
that was kind of an easy one to pick for the fiance for sure.
Well, I think like, especially in men, like there's so many repetitions of names, just like in general, even up here, up north, because I
Mhm.
know I was supposed to be an Andrew James Gordon the third, and there wasn't even a name picked out for a girl. And then at like the last minute, they were like, I guess Jennifer is fine.
Well, you're Jennifer Ann Gordon the first.
Yes, Jennifer.
You know, I
Gordon
do.
the
You know,
first.
that is something I think about. I was actually at a book signing at a just on Monday, and this older woman asked me because I just signed my name Gervais, and she said, "Well, you're not done. You have to sign your last name." And I said, "I'm not going to sign my last name." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because I really struggled with what name was going to be on the book. Hagerty is my maiden name. And then I could also, so that's my dad's name. And then my married name is my husband's name. And I'm like, damn it. I'm my own name. It's like Madonna. I'm just Gervais,
I was going to
I
say,
don't want.
Gervais is distinctive enough. You can
It's
get away with
distinctive
it.
enough. It's distinctive
Jennifer
enough.
could not.
Jennifer cannot. Jennifer cannot. Which is why I had to
it's just
throw
like
the
one of
Ann
these
in there.
things. Like, I don't have the right. I don't know the solution to like combining a name as a family, because I do like the idea that my nuclear family with my children, I mean, just for dealing with medical bills, right, has the same name. But it's like, God dang, I mean, is that really it? Like, we just don't.
I wish we could all
I
just
went the
come up with a
family line.
new name. Like
And
when
we know
you-
people who've done that. There's
Yeah.
a family that we know where one married the other, and they like squished some of hers down and stuck
Mhm.
his on the end, and it
Yeah.
ended up working. So when I first saw the kid's name, I'm like going, wait, isn't that their kid? And then I realized looking at the last name that it was a combination of it.
That's
and it's
cool.
her legal name. And I mean, I don't think either one of them changed their names. So they all have slightly different names. I don't know how that works out, but
Right.
they're all short.
I feel like that's a billing disaster right
It
there.
is. It is. But I mean,
It's just a
I
bad
mean, I know
paperwork.
different cultures use different ways. They don't, I know some of them, I want to say sometimes in the Hispanic cultures, they will do like day and then the last name, and it's the mother's first name. I'm probably getting that all mixed up, but I know the first time I saw it, that's why sometimes you'll see a Hispanic actor who has a name that's like 7 names.
Right.
And then Oscar Isaac just goes by the first 2, because otherwise his credits would be like this long, listing and honoring all those people. And I kind of love that. But on a book cover, you probably just need to pick one.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just think it's an interesting thing to examine. Just one of the many iterations of kind of how women can become invisible.
Yeah.
Like I said, on the invitations, right? On the invitations to formal
Yes,
events. 'Cause
Mrs.
Yeah,
I'm
Mr.
there.
and
I'm the
Mrs. so-and-so.
Mrs.
Yeah.
I wish I had grabbed. I have a cookbook that I got, and it's actually from Louisiana. It's from one of the parishes there, and it's all these moms and grandmas and aunties recipes, and it's all typed up nicely, and it's not anybody I know, but all of them are listed as like Mrs. David Jones, Mrs. So and so. There's no female names in there at all. And then there was one, and she had the only vegan recipe for tofu in the whole book. And I'm like, I am so proud of that woman right now. She's like, I'm vegan, and I'm Ms., and I'm using my own name and my first name, and I'm just glad they let her in the book. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they did. They were like, well,
Probably had like a
Someone wants
quota,
to.
like you need one vegan recipe.
one vegan recipe.
Right. One vegan. Yeah.
No, it was like some parish's local cookbook. I don't know how I got it, but it's called.
Well,
Pirate
it's similar.
Cook. Yeah.
There's one here called Charleston Receipts, and
Yeah.
it's a great way to mine for character names for sure. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's probably better than just going on the internet going names from this background that start with X, because that's
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I do.
I just ended up in the rabbit hole going, I can't name this person. I haven't come up with anything yet. I should just look for a cookbook.
Yeah, no, a cookbook is great. It's a good thing to look at like school yearbooks.
Ooh.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Because here, I wanted to keep a name, the Hagerty name, because a lot of people know that we're like, our family's done well, people know us, and that's nice. I do love that part of growing up in this town, which was a lot
very
smaller.
Supportive community.
It's incredibly supportive. I mean, it's an amazing place. I actually lived in California for a few years after college, because as a kid, they were like, Gervais, you're kind of radical. You need to move to California. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I loved it.
So where were you when you came here? Where did you live?
San Diego. Not quite as crunchy as I imagined it would be, like when I was, but it was great. It was great.
I went to UCSD for my undergrad, so
I've
been to San Diego too. It's a wonderful place. If I ever was like, I'm going to leave Orange County for good, I'm just going to go one county south, because San Diego is amazing. But
yeah.
But I'm sure you had a lovely time there and probably got some pretty good surfing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I am so cold natured, and the water is so cold there that I couldn't get the blood to my feet, even with booties, to guide the board. So I just fall off. I got so annoyed.
Like, I'm actually numb here.
Yeah. No, really. I just can't. I'm just generations of this, like,
of humidity,
hot society where, like, you can put me in a sweat lodge. I can handle that, but like not.
Because it's different, because I know that my mom, when she first moved out here, my family was originally from Pennsylvania, and so they would go to like Jersey Shore in the Atlantic, and they're getting the warm water coming up from Mexico, and we're getting the water coming down from Alaska. So
y'all are.
We're right next to Mexico. We're not getting water from there. We're getting it coming down off an iceberg.
Yeah, you guys are the Humboldt current. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
it's not fun.
Yeah, no, ours is hot, and ours is definitely hot. It's like bathwater right now.
But you also handle just the idea of like female friendships. So beyond just female invisibility, but also the relationship between Simmons and Martha. I know Jen and I both
I loved it.
We wanted more of that, because I don't know if I've read a relationship like that before.
I would have read an entire book about them, or like a YA flashback book about them in high school. I feel like
a lot of fun
I love Martha.
Right.
She's like, what a great character to write. Like, maybe not to have as a friend, but like a really great character to write.
She was great because Simmons is naive in a lot of ways. And in early feedback, just asking anybody, like a sister, like my mom had a friend who was a writer who read it, and sometimes I think the reader these early readers were getting frustrated about like, gosh, she's just really kind of like into herself and like doesn't really like she's just naive. And so I needed to create a character who would push her back. And so that was what was really fun about Martha. Like, she really pushes back. I mean, she's kind of my alter ego. She says what she wants. She has sex with who she wants. She's impulsive. Like, and kind of think a little too much.
There's almost a part of Simmons that's almost like when she starts making these decisions that are going to alter the trajectory of her life from what's kind of been mapped before her, it's almost like she's like, can I be her? Is that something I can be? And then it doesn't really work out for her, even right off the bat, the same way she thinks it will. And it just kind of shows, at least for me, I feel like some of us are kind of cut out for that, and some of us just aren't. And sometimes it's just maybe not the right time in our lives. And sometimes you have friends who are kind of bungling things up and maybe not being as supportive as you hoped or thought they might be.
Yeah, and friendships are relationships, right? Yeah. And so I think a lot of your 20s and 30s, God, maybe the rest of our lives, you'll be hurt by a friend, and it's hard because you really love that person. And how do you so anyway, I had a lot of fun. I love taking them out to the bars and the parties because I'm a mother of two and I don't get out anymore. So I'm like,
we live vicariously.
What I do here. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wearing cool clothes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Making out with a stranger.
What are you writing, Mommy? Nothing?
So what are you working on now? Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, well, so far my editor has not said no, but she hasn't bought it yet either. So she's, I'm working on the next book. And she's really been helping me too. It's great. It is set on Wamala, which is an island off the coast of Charleston. So it's kind of like Edisto, how I take the characters out there. Mm-hmm. And it is it's a manor. It's called Pettigrew Manor. And it's this house that's really aging. And a family has been there for generations, the Ravenels. And there's 3 different characters. And one is a matriarch. Sorry, making sure. Got a wayward earbud. And she's announcing to the family that she's selling the house, and no one really understands why. And the three characters, one just has discovered an affair, but it was like 5 years ago, and everything's been fine since. So she's not really sure what to do. The other has just left her high-powered job in New York, and she's just kind of thinking, what is my life for? Like, I've worked so hard, and this is it. And then the third, I was saying how I was a professor at the Citadel, that military college, and I just became obsessed with my students. They're just a fascinating group of people. And the third is a cadet. So, and they all kind of end up, there's this sort of clash of experiences, and I've had a lot of fun. I've about 200 pages in, and
well, now your students are going to be reading this and looking for themselves. Is it based on me? Because they're going to think, "Oh, am I the cadet?" Like,
and then I'll say, "Yes, you have to buy it."
That's a great sales strategy.
You just might be.
You just might
every
be.
person at the college.
Well, that's kind of how it is with this first book too, because it's about my town, and it's like a lot of people we know, and it's no one character. But as you know, as writers, you're like these magpies, and you just take these little bits from these different people. And then like Carrie Ann, the mother, is an archetype of a South of Broad mother. And so, yeah.
And I love that you say that South of Broad, because isn't there even a point in Polite Company where they realize that a baby is being born like slightly out of the zip code, and they're like, it'll be on the birth certificate that the baby was born here.
Well, that actually happened to me. Because I had my
Did you give birth to a baby outside of the zip code?
I did. My mother was horrified. I did a birth center. It's just like, but you're not going to have Roper on the birth certificate. That's the name of the hospital. It was not going to be a Roper baby. I mean, it's like a thing. Roper baby, cotillion, debutante. That's how you do it here.
Gervais, you've been disowned. Your child's been disowned. The child's never going to get to go to college. They're going to get to go to the Citadel, and they'll have to be a cadet.
Poor thing was born in a bathtub. She's got a lot to.
She's a water
I'll make
baby.
her stronger.
She's
a water baby.
She's a water baby. She'll be surfing by the time she's.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So, did your mom love the book, or was she?
Oh yeah,
or was she a mom
to
about
her?
it?
And it's dedicated to her too. No, she's been great. So my mother was a poet. And so my mother's been my first reader. So she really would help. She'd read it. She'd read like a chunk at a time. And then she'd say like, I don't know why this is a bad sentence, you need to fix it. And it's great because I'm like, okay. And I'm learning from her. And she wrote some pretty amazing poems, and she's helped me out a lot. But she'll also help me with
like one sentence and go, this is a bad one, fix it.
Yeah,
she wouldn't give you more than that, because
she would definitely do that. Like I'll give it to her, and I'll give her the track changes, and I can see. But then she'll have some ideas. I'm like, that's not, you know your characters better than anybody. And like my character would not say that. She would not do that. They would not observe that. Like if Simmons would observe a piece of architecture because she was grown up in this area, but maybe in this next book, my Citadel cadet Brad, he would not. He's an 18-year-old dude. He's not observing architecture at this moment.
He doesn't care about the architecture.
Yeah. So, but she's been super, super helpful. And also with details of some of the parties, like a ball, men would wear tails and not tuxes. And I was using those terms interchangeably, and they are not interchangeable. So she's been really good with the detail. So that's been excellent. I mean, it's a team, she's got my back. So
oh my gosh,
really
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read the next one, because you had me at like old, like crumbling manor house.
Oh,
like, yes, on an island.
That's like trademark for you there.
That checks off like 3 of my boxes.
Oh, good. Yes.
Like,
awesome.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad.
Gervais, thank you so much for being here with us today.
I had a blast, y'all. Thanks so much.
Hey, we even got a y'all.
Yeah.
Being here. Everybody who's watching this, make sure to go out and buy Impolite Company. And stay tuned next week for our episode of Vox Vomitus, when we will be discussing Kill All Your Darlings with author David Bell. So thank you, Allison, obviously, for being the Vox Vomitus vixen. Thank you, Roman, our producer. Thank you, Pam Stack, our executive producer. Thank you to everybody at the Global Authors on the Air radio network. This has been a copywritten podcast by Global's Authors on the Air, and we will see you all